The Southern African Development Community will hold an extraordinary virtual summit of heads of state and government on Thursday, focusing on the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The meeting will get a report from the organ on politics, defense and security, which deliberated on the escalating situation in the Eastern DRC and looked into whether troops deployed in the DRC should be withdrawn. Now, recently, you'd remember South Africa lost 14 soldiers who had been deployed as part of the SADC peacekeeping mission in the Eastern DRC. And at the same time, the M23 rebel group fighting with the Congolese army has proposed a political dialogue with the Kinshasa government. Let's get the very latest now. We speak to SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena, who is joining us for more. Sophie, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. How important is this meeting that is expected to get underway on Thursday?
The meeting is quite important, as you know that, for example, the SADC troops have been trapped there in the DRC, in the eastern part of the DRC, for quite a long time now, a number of weeks and days. As you know that after the M23 rebel group and those other forces that are part of the M23 working together have captured the eastern part of the DRC, and now they are confined in the base, and therefore there's no movement, there are no activities, and also what they were supposed to do there, they are not doing that at this moment. We know that the M23, I spoke earlier on with the deputy governor of Goma, in the eastern part of the DRC, who was earlier months and days was a spokesperson of the M23, indicating to me that they are still assisting where possible in terms of the needs of the South African soldiers. Therefore, this meeting will be important in terms of whether they will continue to be there, or are we likely to see a decision taken in terms of when are we going to see the withdrawal of the troops? Because why are they still there when they are not at this moment doing anything and they are confined in the base at Goma, in the airport there, and they are not doing what they were supposed to do there as assigned by SADC?
And especially, you know, in light of that, right, there are questions that are being raised around the SADC troops who are still there, as you say. Let's look at whether or not there's an update in relation to how the M23 is handling this particular issue.
I spoke to M23 spokesperson. He is now, as I pointed out, the deputy governor of Goma. He indicated to me that they will continue to help the summit DRC soldiers who are there at the airport in Goma and Sake to ensure that they have supplies and other necessities. But he told me that they are still adamant that they want to be part of the solution. They want to engage with the Kinshasa government. However, Kinshasa is not willing to do that. But earlier on, the President of the Republic was answering questions in Parliament. He spoke about this matter. One thing that stood out for me was that he emphasized that the only solution to this problem is a peace process and the negotiations. Secondly, saying that it is important that when you do that, you bring everybody, all stakeholders, both state actors and non-state actors, to the negotiating table, and therefore they can negotiate the peace process that can lead to cessation of hostilities and with a lasting solution. He also gave information in terms of what's happening to the troops who are there in Goma. Let's take a listen at what the president had to say about the troops, the South African soldiers, including from other countries, who are trapped in Sake and in Goma and confined in the military base.
They are located in Sake and in Goma, and as I said, they are in quite a precarious situation right now. But as it is, the peace is holding. The troops, much as they are just located at the airport, they are not being fired on, and in Goma there is a sense of peace and we want to consolidate that. And the discussions that are ongoing now are aimed at ensuring that we have a durable, as I said, a cessation of hostilities. Yes, facing all these challenges has meant that we have to be in discussion with the various other armies in the area, including the M23, about a variety of issues, including logistics, the movement, so for instance, of food stuff or food supplies, and indeed the provision of water and electricity. So all that has been happening on an interactive basis. And a peace that should now be fully consolidated is in the offing. And we are hopeful that once that has ensued, we will be able to indeed get our troops back home, as the other nations also yearn for the end of hostilities, so that their own troops should go home.
Well, the president talking about the peace there that is in Goma at this moment. And I think, Bongiwe, to note is that immediately after the president spoke about this issue, I immediately called the M23 to check whether they are indeed helping our soldiers. Those soldiers would include the ones from Tanzania and also from Malawi with supplies. And I spoke to the Goma leader, vice deputy of Goma. He told me that indeed they are doing that and they will continue. He gave me an assurance that they will continue to help our troops with all what they need at this moment. And I think all eyes will be on this meeting in Harare, Zimbabwe, where the chair of SADC will chair this meeting of heads of state and government. And as you heard the president towards the end talking about bringing our soldiers back home like other countries want to, that speaks to my suspicion that on the agenda will be how do we pull out of this area now, because the people that we were assisting have surrendered, majority of them. The fighting is now in a different area where the bases are not located in relation to Summit DRC.
And he speaks about cessation of hostilities. And as you say, what does that look like without the M23 that still says it wants to negotiate with the government in Kinshasa there, and the government still digging in its heels? So, Sophie, this is a huge one. And on Thursday, certainly all eyes on this meeting to see what becomes the very next move that we're going to be seeing from SADC. But thank you so much for your time there. And still a lot more to talk about, of course, even the developments with the US and all of that. But certainly this big meeting here is one that will tell us as to how things are likely to progress. That's SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena.